Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Now let me straighten out some of the things she misinformed you. Nobody that you've heard so far has told you 100% the truth, not because they're lying, not because it's a sin of commission, it's a sin of omission, because you don't have to even know the program right to make money in this deal. Number one, there is no such a thing as a supermajority, which she's doing, 75%, because she's not going to get private equity money. That's number one. Number two, if she may have called it, when she said a management contract, it's not it's a management contract, not a management, whatever she called it, when you can take over their business and run the business as if you owned it, and then you take the cash flow, you take the income, and then when the licenses transfer, you then become the owner, but in the meantime, you're running the business as if you owned it. Okay. She alluded to it 2 or 3 times. The healthcare deals are the hardest, are the ones that have contracts. I've mentioned this before in the last day and a half. The substance abuse and that kind of thing, the contracts change. And if you're buying the company, the contracts transfer with the company. When you're just trying to buy assets, they don't transfer with the assets. And even though they tell you it can be 45 to 90 days, we hit the longest one last year, 9 months. The seller, after 4 months, got seller's remorse and pulled out of the deal. Okay, so be careful. Now, if you're just buying a assisted living, old people dying in your bed, 40 beds, there's no licenses to speak of, or they're very easily transferable licenses. But make sure, and that's why you have the lawyer that you have in-house and the accountant that you have in-house are healthcare professionals, not that they're in healthcare, but they're used to doing healthcare deals, and they know which licenses, etc. There's 4 or 5 states in America that it is brutal to get licenses transferred. New Jersey, Connecticut, Florida, California, and I'm forgetting one. They're brutal. They're just hard. And the reason why, for example, Florida's so hard, they had a big disruption in the last 2 or 3 years where there was a lot of fraud involved, where people were paying to get licenses transferred, and so now they've come down on them, with a hammer instead of, or with a sledgehammer as opposed to a hammer. Another thing that she mentioned, the guy that she let go that moved from from Dallas-Fort Worth to Houston, she named 3 or 4 things. Rape, blah, blah, blah. I would have fired that asshole from the first one, let alone the second, the third, and the fourth, and leaking a deal. Okay? And so the other thing she said, which is she should have paid $400,000 or $500,000 for the fees. Charged her $72,000. Now, I don't think, but the reason why you only get paid 70 is, like I told you. I don't think that's the case with her, but I don't give a fuck if it is the case with her. But it could be. But lawyers feel sorry for women, not because you're stupid, or they just do. It reminds me of my big sister. Whatever the shit, I never felt sorry for any woman. But so she got lucky. But the fuck up was they didn't distribute the shares. Now remember I told you about phantom income. So she did a couple deals. So now the company's got booked value. And now they're distributing stock with something that's got book value. So the little fucking directors have phantom fucking income. They've got income they didn't receive and that is taxable. So I don't know how they work that out. But, some lawyers, because they know that you don't know what you're doing, they don't want you to issue shares prematurely. They're being legitimate. That's a legitimate concern because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And even though you tell them you're following them, we'll issue shares later, okay? Because they know there's consequences with shares. But in her case, she said she was going to give this guy 3 and this guy 4, and now when she issued the shares, most probably it's a tax event. So I don't know how she got through that. I don't. Maybe that's why the lawyer didn't charge her so much for all the things, because he fucked up. And remember, I like big lawyers, big accountants, because they have deep pockets and they have big malpractice insurance. So you can sue the shit out of them when they fuck up. And when you do your own due diligence, like I said yesterday, the only person who can sue is you. Now, you don't go, when you're recruiting these big lawyers and big guys, you don't tell them that because they won't touch, forget about it, But we have some of the kids that tell them that. We have some of the kids sending out letters of interest, LOIs, from the deal from the template, which is a deal 5 years ago. With the terms. They don't even change the terms, nothing. They just paste it and send it. Self-sabotaging activity. You can't be that stupid. But 10 or 20% of the kids, every seminar, do the same thing. And even though I preach this, I pound, maybe if I did a cartwheel and stood on my head, you're still going to do it. Why? Self-sabotaging activities. You've been making bad decisions from the time that you first, as a guy, jerked off, to your first kiss on a date, to your first marriage, your second marriage, your fourth marriage. Give the bad advice. You can't help yourself. It's in your DNA. Another thing she said that is kind of accurate is that, not kind of, very accurate, she didn't ask any of the board members to move. But she felt guilt about the one that moved, one of the 3 or 4 that moved, and then she had to fire him. She could have fired him before he moved if she had pulled the trigger when she first found out. And these guys and gals the zebras don't change their spots or stripes. When you see a fuck up, if it's a young manager, maybe they made a mistake. But when it's an old fuck, boom! Again, for the 4th or 5th time. It's not the people that you don't fire in a business that kill you. It's the people that you don't fire. Excuse me, not the people you do fire. Okay, questions, comments about, she's a terrific gal at the hardcore when the deal didn't close. I thought that she thought she had a miscarriage. I mean, she was really, because she bring the deal to hardcore to show everybody, and then it fell to shit. I'm laughing, but it's not funny at all. Believe me, I've been there. Okay, comments about the Viking bitch. Yes, sir.
She mentioned that she's going to be buying her own business under her holding.
Oh, okay, good point. That was the 5th thing I wanted to mention. Some of you in this room have a little chicken shit business, or maybe not so little chicken shit business. And depending on what you're going to roll up, your first acquisition should be you. Now, I'll explain that in more detail because it affects 2 or 3 of you. You got a business that's 5 or 10 million or whatever it is, okay? And it makes money. And it's in a related or almost the same field that you're going to roll up. The 3 things happen when you buy, your first acquisition is you. Well, number 1, you get liquid. You're able to, you can do partial seller finance, partial bank finance, like we talked about. The commercial money, commercial debt that you're going to put on the deal, most of it's going to go to you. If not all of it's going to go to you. You're picking the sales price. Listen to this, Marcus. You're picking the sales price, overinflated fucking sales price that no white, black, or purple man would ever give you for this shithole business you've got. And you're pulling out cash legally to put in your pocket. And now you got one deal done. It's better than, well, nothing's better than taking candy from a baby, in my opinion, but it's better than that. But what Anelli decided to do, he would still be tied to the business. He decided to sell his business to his employees, which he still, with the greatest respect, kid, sold it for more than it was worth. It's, you know how pinball, well, we've got a pinball machine. Pinball machine, when you pull back the thing and then the ball goes out, and almost everything it hits, it lights up and you get points. They still make them like that? Okay. Well, that's buying your own business. It's 100% legal. It's a thing of beauty. And it solves a lot of problems for all the shit you put in there. All the things you wish you hadn't done and did. All the companies or assets you bought that you shouldn't have. Okay, that's what she's talking about. So, like, you understand? But she's talking about it as a little teeny business. But I don't know if this is the tape. She said the guy wanted 840. She gave him 50. Is this the? Did you hear that? He wanted $800 and some $1,000 for the business. Her first offer was 40, and she settled on 50. I would have had him pay me. And he probably would have. But she was so nervous making that offer. I've seen a lot more embarrassing offers than that. Paid him $50. And then in the first 2 or 3 months, or first month, or first day, I forget what it is, she got it up to $500,000 in cash flow. And this is all legit. And this is what I say the big guys, the professionals like myself. And the professionals don't consider me a professional. You know why? Because I'm telling you how we do it. I'm on the outside. These guys wouldn't piss on my face if it was on fire. The guys, they wouldn't. Because I'm telling you how to do it. And so now I'm not in the circle anymore. I'm not in that M&A golden fucking circle I was when I came out of Bear Stearns. Because I'm telling you. And that's why Donald Trump in 1993 at the MGM Hotel, this has been on YouTube a jillion times, I'm going up to the grand opening of the MGM. I have my son's hands, I'm holding their hands, and Donald has a thing about germs. So it killed him to be shaking hands with all these people. And he gets in the elevator with a couple of his bodyguards, and I get in the elevator, and he looks across the elevator and says, Dan, I hear you're trying to teach stupid people how to get rich. And my 2 kids look at me. I said, yeah, Donald. Because we're not telling you how to go find we are telling you how to find the Holy Grail, but it's not magic. The guys have been doing this for not thousands of years, that'd be a lie, but for sure hundreds of years. So now I'm not considered one of who's got an inner circle or a platinum, that shit that they sell on internet scum. I'm not in the inner circle anymore of the guys because I'm telling you how to do this. You'll see, not at least 10, 20 times a year, guys will buy their own assets. But because it's not in their name, you don't recognize that they're selling their own asset. And that's it. And then I'm going to tell you later how you take people's assets away that they don't want to sell them to you. Happens all the time. If you have debt of any sort, I can take your assets away. I can take your assets away. And a couple of people in the 28 years pissed me off enough that I wish I had them, but I didn't. Because that would be unprofessional because you show me all these numbers, But that's confidential information. But we've got a couple of students in the last 2 or 3 years that are taking people's assets away. They're not for sale because they went back and found them. The guy fucked them 15 years ago. And it's easy peasy. It's like taking a shit in the morning. And that's what the big guys do all the time. That's why you piss the big guys off. You better learn to dance or mambo or something because they can and will, in some cases, come after you. Okay, so that's what she's talking about, buying. Now, you had a question, sir.
Mr. Peña, could you clarify what she meant by LLCs can't purchase?
That's bullshit. She's talking shit. She read a book or she listened to a blog. That's crap. That's not true. Not true. Now, in America, there's several different ways: S Corp, C Corps, LLCs, limited liability partnerships. There's all kind of different ways that you can buy assets. But what we want to do, we would rather do, is buy assets free of any liabilities, past, current, or future. Just buy the assets that are producing the income. But in the healthcare deal, this license is associated with, so you normally have to buy the shares, the company that owns those assets, and then the license is transferred very easily. But she's talking crap. She had too much hairspray in her brain or something. I don't know. Yeah. And a lot of the things the kids say are just because they really don't know. There's about 25 to 30 sentences that you have in your templates, scripts. And if you memorize those 25, and not knowing what they mean, you can get rich. You don't have to know what they mean even. We're like a politician. You know how when you hear a politician, the news reporter asks them X and the answer is Y. Ask them B, and the answer is Y. We have 6 answers. That's all we have, is 6 answers to no matter how many questions they ask us. That's it. 6 answers. That's it. You don't have to know anymore. And the autistic and Asperger kids, they got that shit down pat. You don't even, and there's 3 things. One, I told you, where do you get the money? Who's got the skin in the game? It's hard for you to get over that. And especially when you're recruiting the lawyers, the board members. But once you get over that, the second thing is when the time frame, and in this country, in America, nobody gives a shit about time frame. Nobody asks whether it's 300 hours a month or 5 hours a year. They don't ask that. In this country, you got a script for that, no problem. But you'll be challenged when you get over the fact that there's no money required and you can buy it with their own money, because seller finance is you're buying the guy or the gal's deal with their money. Their money. Why would that happen? Intellectually, you're filtering through. And the 12 and 13-year guys, deals, both couldn't get over that. Could not get over that hurdle until they came to the hardcore and they saw, well, there's other Nazis and fucking black people and China, and then they figured out it's not important whether, remember, it's not why. It's just how, and the words work. You can't help yourself. You were born to be poor because you're stupid, your parents were stupid, bad DNA. And this is without much inbreeding even. I got inbreeding mentees from the hollers of Kentucky that are worse. And you wonder why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And as Donald said in his infinite wisdom, hey, Dan, I hear you're trying to make poor people rich. Because I'm not telling you anything new. This 1,000% of what you've heard so far, with 1 or 2 exceptions, has been free information for at least 100 years. So I'd ask, if I were you, and I'm not you, God, thank God, why? You don't know. And the 2 reasons, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting revved up like the clothes the last afternoon. 2 reasons that you are where you are, you don't know what you don't know, and you did the best you could for raising kids, getting a wife, and all that shit. But those 2 things, those 2 dogs don't hunt. You don't know what you don't know, and you did the best you could. That's the excuse everybody gives. From your parents, grandpa, but those dogs don't hunt. Because now, with the internet, there's no reason not to know. The only good thing about net scum internet is everything I've ever told you here is online. If you're really interested in pulling yourself out of the debris that you are currently in, you could have found out. Some people come here just to verify because they want to hear me say it with my lips, even though they've heard it on YouTube. There's a couple of you in here that researched me for a few months just to find out if it was really bullshit or not, which I find somewhat amusing. Andreas, 5 years researching. 5 fucking years. And there's no reason, as he showed, 50 million euro evaluation, there's no reason that anybody in this room can't have a 50 million value, whatever you roll up, in 2 years, 24 months. There's no reason whatsoever, unless you're lazy or you're Greek or you're Italian or, In some of the countries that works not the best are Greece, Italy, Spain's kind of wishy-washy, France is wishy-washy, and Portugal is wishy-washy. Other than that, you can crush them in Europe. Oh, and Ukraine and Russia, excuse me. where they'll just take the deal, steal from you, and might put a bullet in your head at the same time. Any questions about the Viking bitch? Yes, sir, in the back.
She mentioned about sweeping the accounts.
Oh. She went to the hardcore when Dan Locke, one of my mentees, went to the hardcore, and he checks and sweeps cash twice a day. Not once a day, twice a day. Because he has, 1,500 source of revenue that's coming in. And I make fun. It's not really true, but I make fun because almost everybody that does business with Dan, it's not true, I'm exaggerating, Dan, is Asian. But that's where the world is. That's where the world is. Okay, sweep the accounts. You look at your accounts because depending on how many sources of income, revenue you have, it's very easy, and depending on how many people have passwords, well, I mean, some guys, and you can't, I'm going to tell people here, don't sign the checks yourself. You don't have time for that. Checks, 5,000, 2 signatures, 5,000 above, 3 signatures. There's ways of guarding against them taking the money, but they'll still find a way to get the money. And so she never thought that anybody would take money from her. She's from Texas, all-state basketball player, blah, blah. And so that's why she sweeps the accounts now. And but if you have good systems and procedures in place, you don't have to do that. But I haven't signed a check in 40 years, maybe. I haven't paid for anything with a credit card in maybe 25 years. When I'm out and traveling, Sally gives me 20 pounds when I'm in England, the UK, in case I get lost or something. And she gives me only $20, which is less money when I'm in New York or LA, $20. That's it. I don't carry money. And I normally forget the 20 pounds and the $20. But that's what she means by sweeping the accounts. And when she was talking about ethnicities, that was her politically correct way that black, brown, yellow people will steal from you. And you have to be careful. Also white. Be careful. She said, know the ethnicities in the background. That was her politically correct way. She says, everybody will steal from you. Which is fucking 1,000% true. 1,000. Sally and I made more money than God when we were in Asia for 13 years. But it was hard fucking work. Hard fucking work. Every morning you woke up, who's going to clip me today? Who's going to steal from me? China, Indonesia, the Philippines. It's hard work. And there are 3 programmers. You put in a new program, there's 3 guys to hack you before the sun goes down. But you can make a lot of money. I'm too old now for that hassle. My hair was his kind of gray, this guy, when I went to Asia. But it depends how bad you want it. And Sally and I cleaned up. And we pay taxes, too. Government, inland revenue. We pay taxes. You only worry about paying taxes when you're not making enough money. Did I answer your question, sir? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where is she now? What is her net worth?
Where is the Viking bitch? She's in Houston, Texas. CEO of her conglomerate, not conglomerate, but I mean her healthcare conglomerate. And you heard her say she's going off into 2 other areas. She's buying up professional doctor practices, and she's buying agencies that place people in healthcare positions. She's also buying those up. And I hear that she's looking at hospitals. Which, I'd be surprised that she's not going to have to, because the cash flow won't cover the debt service, unless she buys some little small hospital to start, and the cash flow of her existing business will cover the debt service, the spread between the value of the property and the value of the income stream. She's away and rolling, and Viking Bitch 2, her slightly 1 inch shorter, unidentical twin is doing the same thing. And but it doesn't have, again, with the greatest respect, Viking Bitch 2 doesn't have the same leadership skills as she does. But she's got an extraordinary. And again, we can make you the biggest shareholder. And unless you really do something wrong, you're going to be the biggest shareholder by a big margin. And the board's there to govern, to keep you out of jail, so to speak. That's what I say. And but you got to lead. You got to, they follow you. And you've heard 2 or 3 of the guys say through leadership, and that's true. That's true. But I mean, and so there are speed bumps. Now, some guys come here. That guy that had been in jail 7 times, and he can do it. Why the German prison system ever let the fucker lose is beyond me. To me, 7-time loser, 7 times. You'd think they're just going to keep him there. But the jails in Germany are too full. And he came here. And then he came to the hardcore. He said, this is a fucking... he said, is this legal, Mr. Peña? God almighty. I didn't have to go to jail but once. A 7-time convicted felon. He says, I only had to go to jail once. If I'd known this shit. But you guys are going to noodle it. You're going to think about it. You're going to figure out which industry. 2 years later, I'm going to get an email from 2 or 3 of you. I decided to do healthcare. Then 4 or 5 years from now, I pivoted from healthcare to technology. Then 4 or 5 years, I'll be gone by then. 4 or 5 years from now, I decided to do property, like you said, because the property cycle is already crashed and is on its way back up. Anything else about the Viking Bitch or anything?